friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. Today, I am joined by Jacqueline Weesner, founder of the Salon Safety App, a brilliant tool created by a stylist for stylists. With 17 years behind the chair, Jacqueline knows firsthand the stress that can come from state board regulations. She took her own experience and created something to help the rest of us feel more confident, more prepared, and a whole lot less anxious about compliance. Let's dive into how she turned a pain point into a powerful platform that is changing the game for salon professionals across all 50 states. Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. How are you doing?
That was so beautiful. Thank you.
I was just telling Jacqueline before we hit record that she reached out to me and basically was just like, hey, I'd love to collaborate in any way. I'm trying to get word out to the industry about this app that I've created. And I was like, come on the podcast. I'm always looking for people to podcast with. Posting an episode every single week is not easy. So I'm always looking for people to have conversations with. And after digging in more to what you have and what you have created, I'm like, heck yes, I'm happy to share this with my audience. So tell us a little bit of a backstory, who you are, where you're from, how this idea came to be.
Okay. I have been in the beauty industry licensed as a hairstylist for 17 years. I am second generation to this lovely career. Kind of did it as a backup. Thought I was going to be in the education route, and 2008 hit, and I got to be a hairstylist. Didn't think that it would last the 17 years that it has, but boy, have I loved this career.
Yeah.
Some days more than others, but it's been such a great ride. And as I've hit year 17, I guess I want to look back and make some pain points easier for stylists that come up after me. And I hope that when I'm an old lady, there's still a great amount of trained stylists waiting and willing to serve us, kind of that full roundabout sort of circle. So I took one of my biggest stressors, as embarrassing as it is to stay, as state board. I became licensed in California, and about every quarter, the salons that I worked at would be visited by state
Okay, can
board.
I say something? And I don't know if this is just because I work in a tiny little town in Illinois. I have never had a state board visit in my 15 years.
I meant to ask you what state you're in, but
I'm in
that's
Illinois,
okay.
and
Okay.
not in Chicago. I'm in a small town in a bunch of cornfields in the middle of Illinois. That is something I should worry about now that I downloaded the app and I'm looking at it. I should worry about. I mean, because
Yeah.
obviously I'm not dirty. I try to take what I remember from school. I was reading your talking points about how habits are just created after being licensed. And my goodness,
Yeah.
is that true? So that's fascinating that every quarter this was something that you dealt with.
Yeah. And I think, like I was saying previously, Lisa, that I think
Hmm.
a lot of our training and such does happen on the go and you get taught in the
Yeah.
trenches. But what you're taught in beauty school is so strict and rigid. And then day
Mm-hmm.
one, you get employed at a salon and it's kind of a hot mess of monkey see, monkey do. And I know I practiced that way for quite a few years. And one of my most embarrassing moments that I have as a hairstylist, I worked in this very classy salon and we would rotate stations. Your rollabout would be pulled over, and there I sat at my little SMA. My client comes in for a bang trim, grab the water bottle that's at that station to spray her hair down. And she said, it smells like bleach. And I look at the water bottle and it's unmarked, run in the dispensary to our salon manager. And I said, what is in this? And she said, bleach.
Oh my God.
I did a 180 of like, these rules are stupid to, oh my gosh, this
This is
stuff
why.
exists. Yeah, it was such a slap in the face
Whoa.
of realizing why rules and safety measures are in place. So I walked back out to the client and, I was like, oh my gosh, it is bleach. Ran over to the shampoo bowls, rinsed her hair, but I never saw that client again.
Fair.
And like I shrunk that day, took me a while
Mm,
to like gain that confidence back.
yeah.
And it wasn't, I'm a badass hair colorist, I'm a good cutter, but like standing behind the chair in the face-to-face customer to stylist setting, like sometimes that makes me so nervous.
Mm,
And I think a lot of that just has to do with not really understanding the lane that you have to protect
yeah.
yourself, your customer,
Yeah.
and then avoiding having your license be threatened.
Wow. So when did the idea like finally come? Because obviously it sounds like that happened pretty early on. And so
Oh yeah.
you respected and understood compliance and regulation. When did the idea come of like, this would be helpful I feel like we learned all this in cosmetology school. We learn a little tiny bit in continuing ed, but then
Mhm.
after that, especially if you go independent, I'm in a studio. You
Mhm.
don't really, I mean, it's monkey see, monkey do for a little while, but then when it's you on your own, you don't really have that consistent checkpoint. So when did that drop in when you're like, there needs to be something that makes this easier? It makes us more front of mind. We have so much education always being put in front of us, but I don't, not in the last many years have I had a conversation like this, truthfully.
Year 10, I entered the entrepreneur stuff and rent out
Mm-hmm.
my suite.
Mm-hmm.
And state board came one day. I had a client sitting in my chair for the haircut, and I asked her to leave. I said, they're going to be inspecting me. And I either wanted to deal with it face to face, or in all honesty, I locked my suite up for the day and left.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward a few more years, I had to relocate to Colorado post 2020. Same as you, I live in a town of 40,000 people, and people don't know what state board is here.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that not all stylists work in San Diego, California, like I did.
Yeah. But also, there probably should be more of that because I
Yeah,
agree. The
there is.
fact that I have been doing this for that long and I've never had a state board run in
Yep.
is
Mhm.
also kind of ridiculous and why.
So I don't know about you, but my partner and husband is my soundboard. He doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
much about hair, but
Hmm.
luckily he knows about technology. And one day I said to him, I said, I want to be able to feel like this phone I have to have on me doesn't give me peace of mind. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
Google stuff, but mostly I'm reaching out and texting, like, oh my gosh, this happened. I want to have a tool that when I take my phone out, either what I'm stressing over or what I'm worried about, I can find the solution for. I'm tired of just
Yeah.
complaining. So I said, make this phone work so I can stand in my salon and scan everything around me and know what I need to fix and
Mm-hmm.
know what's compliant. And I don't even hire people. I don't have employees. This is just
Yeah.
me. But like managing when I got my own establishment, like, okay, you need an establishment permit and
Mm-hmm.
your license displayed this way, and then your notice to the consumer, and like
Mm-hmm.
6 or 8 different things that if they're not hung on a wall,
Yeah.
they walk in the door and that's a fine. So
Yeah.
call me a rule follower, but
Like you said, that original story rules exist for a reason. So, what are some things that people like me and maybe like the people in Colorado that you're around with? Because again, at any point, it could happen. We're told that. I mean, when you get a business license, you run a business, that could happen at any time. Your couple run-ins that you've had, what can happen if state board comes to your salon space and you don't realize that you're not up to board? What does that look like?
one of my favorite moments that I had was the regulation in California had actually kind of changed in a quick period of time, I'd call it. None of my coworkers were talking about the new
Mm,
regulation,
yeah.
but they went from labeling our items from clean to new. So that
Mm,
day I got fined for the labeling of every drawer I had that was labeled clean instead of
wow.
new.
Wow.
And then
How big are those
I'm
fines? Is that too much to
I'd
ask?
say
I'm
like,
just curious.
yeah, I know it is state pursuant, but
Okay.
California, I left California and I love California. I lived
Yeah.
there for 35 years, but
Yeah.
they are so heavy when it comes to fine. I think
Mm,
each one was $100 to $200
wow.
10 years ago.
Yeah, it's like driving
Um,
getting a parking ticket every time you go to work. That's not fun. Or a speeding ticket.
and then
That's not fun.
a certain amount of fines and strikes. I know somebody that was sent back to beauty school training because they had accrued so many penalties.
Wow. For a certain amount of hours, or what did that look like?
Yeah, they just put you through
Wow.
like the sanitation disinfection class in freshman class again.
Wow.
And then you pay like, you know, beauty school
Tuition,
tuition again to do
probably.
totally.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that is remedial steps that are necessary. I'm not at all like
totally.
bagging on that. I think that's important
But
if you're
again, we
not
should have
getting
more
it.
tools to make sure
Yeah,
that we're doing things properly because it
yeah,
does
yeah,
matter.
yeah.
Oh, another thing you put for the talking points is how our habits tend to slip. And like you said, the monkey see, monkey do. What are some like examples that you've seen of that? So if people are listening to this and they're the same as me and the state board isn't just a regular thing that pops into their salon all the time, what are
Yep.
some of those things? You already said clean versus new. What are some other things that you think start to slip over time that people don't realize? Obviously, every state is different, but what are those like common threads?
One thing that I find myself just out of habit repeatedly doing is somebody gives you $60 for a haircut. That gets slipped in your top drawer next to your comb box. And
Mm,
what's dirtier than money?
super
Like,
dirty. Yeah.
yeah, totally. And I think it's just like a automatic habit sort of thing. Like,
Mm,
disease or infections are really going to come by that simple act.
totally.
A few times a week, I actually will open up my station drawers, my personal drawer, my top drawer, and then use my app to be able to scan, and it will point out, oh, that comb is sitting in an uncovered container, or your barbicide is missing 2 inches and the combs aren't fully
And that's all
immersed
AI
in solution.
driven.
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
And then I have actually gone in and refined it all the
Yep.
more to be able to give it a personal touch. I think you can Google in AI anything and it will spit a bunch of good jargon, but giving it the main points
Train
of
it.
what it is that a hairstylist really works with in terms of our tools and in safety, relating that to each state. So it is AI, but it's been especially trained by myself.
Awesome. Awesome. So cool. Any other barbicide being a couple inches too low? Any other ones that really stand out to you?
Where your license is displayed is also a big
Mm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Even I one day did a little experiment and I had it, took pictures of my color dispensary area. I have a storage area, and then even our salon bathroom setting and our like dispensary cabinet where
Mm-hmm.
perm rods and bleach and cleaning supplies are all held. And it is able to, I guess when State Board does inspect you, I've never been like running a big salon to see like every
Yeah.
avenue. I'm more focused on, dispensary room and my exact station, but they will
Mm-hmm.
go and look at your under the sink cabinets to make sure that all of your, strong cleaners
Cleaning.
and things
Yeah.
like that are
Are
out of reach from the
properly
public,
labeled. Mm.
labeled in a closed
Mm.
container. One of my favorite things, think about this one. I love when salons do like a smock or a cape, change
Mm-hmm.
out
Yep.
before. How often do you see them in a bathroom? Because I see them very often.
My
And
salon doesn't do that, but I do know some people will do like a robe, and that's like a
mhm,
luxury kind of feel, but it's like
yeah,
go into the bathroom and change. But I hear what you're saying.
as it's got like all the toilet spray. So things
Uh-huh.
like that, like if you think about being the customer and all of the steps that complete that service cycle and just general practice of business day to day, I think it's very easy to be like, oh, let's put these towels here and these capes here, and who cares what comes into
Yeah.
contact with.
Regulation exists for a reason. Yeah.
Correct. You
Hmm.
can even like snap a picture of your shampoo bowl and it will notice any hair in the sink or combs left
Oh,
astray. My sister's an esthetician. I've done her establishment and been able to, work up her bed, her tables, her waxing equipment. It is,
neat. So what is the paid version? Because I downloaded the app before we got on, but I haven't upgraded to this.
yeah.
How much is that?
So it is $10 a month. And what the
Okay.
$10 gets you is you have the unlimited ability to walk around and take pictures of every corner of your salon to be
Wow.
able to match up the image with your state board code and have it in plain English say codes or combs should be in a covered marked container.
Yeah.
And then it will actually pull and source. I learned a lot about informing this. Our state board rules and regulations are actually written in legal code, like
Mm.
CA 43.5.
Mm-hmm.
Then the rules that follow are very all tools and implements must be legal jargon. Not to say you can't
Mm-hmm.
understand it, but I am a
Kind of.
visualist.
Yeah.
So as it's taking the visual that you're giving it and then using our AI tool, it then gives you in a
Um,
more plain English, put your combs in a covered container saying please. So
yeah.
continuing it to be, making it be very, very clear to understand and instantly to access. The paid feature that we are talking about is one of them, but there's probably 5 or 6 other features that are completely free to use.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like was right to have it locked behind
Mm-hmm.
a paywall itself.
Yeah.
Track your renewal for your license. You
Yeah.
plug in your account information, put the state that you're registered with, and when your license expires, you get a push notification 30 days
Oh,
before your license expires to automatically renew.
brilliant.
Uh, Second to that, if there's an incident in the salon, say that I've had somebody that like I've used Kevin Murphy Color, they have a irritation to honey
Yeah.
products.
Yeah.
I'm legally responsible with my insurance company to document that
Mm.
evidence. So in there's a secure, only stored on your end, not shared with us, way to
Mm-hmm.
be able to document if there's an incident, a cut, slip and
Wow.
fall. After that, there's also a disinfection little module that, did you
Mm-hmm.
ever do nails or pedicures or anything like that?
I mean, I learned it in school, but never really.
Same. If we were to be hair colors instead of hair colors and hairstylists, if we did nails instead, you have to fill out one of these forms every time
Wow.
someone like, so like this would be at the end of a service or at the
I'm
end of a
sorry, I
night or
know the nail salons in my town are not doing that. I
right,
wish they would,
right.
because as a consumer, I wish they would. Yes.
Or state boards around the corner, you get the text and you fill
Mm-hmm.
this out on the go. I have not been comfortable to walk into a nail salon and been a patron in many years. And I'm
Yeah.
just more germophobic, I think, than many. So it's totally
Yeah.
fine. But I know that people aren't going to stop getting pedicures. So what can we do to make it
Mm-hmm.
be more safe and
Yep.
transparent? Our system makes the user, so if it was your employee using this app, you would log the date and the time, your initials, which
Mm.
is required by the state, and then you're able to take an on-the-spot picture of it being sanitized. That
Wow.
is once again stored on your system, not with us, so that when state board
Mm-hmm.
comes in, you would actually have a digital log stored on your iPad or your phone of all of the
Wow.
times that you truthfully have sanitized.
Yeah.
And I think this starts to pivot into things that like customers are going to pay more for feeling
Mm-hmm.
safe having their hair
Mm-hmm.
done and their nails
Mm-hmm.
done. I know for myself, like time and money is important, but like
Yeah.
if I can work with someone that I am not only confident in their skill, but like confident that as I walk into their space on Christmas week, I won't be sick the week after,
Mm.
that means so much to me.
I think even going back to nail salons, I think there is just a little bit more of a stigma. You're like literally cutting cuticles and sometimes making people bleed. I think that's a little bit different than coloring hair. Obviously, same amount of risk is there, but I think
Yep.
it's more prevalent and something you think about as a consumer. But even from a consumer standpoint, as someone who has been to cosmetology, I know I pay more to go to the salon down the street that I can see them open clean tools versus I just saw them do a pedicure and drop the buffer in the bin and then pick that same buffer up and use it on me. So I do think there is definitely spin on this where you can, obviously you should be doing it just for the sake of doing it, but you really can also lean into that when it comes to your branding, your marketing, your client experience, your guest experience, all these things that we're talking about on social media, on our website, what we want people to be saying about us when we're not in the room. Like you really can lean into that. And I think that this tool is very helpful in that.
Specialization, I think, has been such a thing. I've bought expensive color lines. I've dabbled in being an extension specialist, a
Yeah.
balayage specialist. And I feel like there tends to be a trend that comes out, and it takes a few years for us to all specialize in it. And then we're all
Mm-hmm.
the same again.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that benefits from that process are the vendors selling us those items.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to follow these rules and regulations every single day for
Mm.
protecting license, protecting our space, and being respectful.
Yeah.
But what if I actually have a sticker on my station that says, I believe the safest chair in town should be your chair.
Mm.
So every person that sits in my chair, I want them to see the extra moments that not only have I taken like a
Yeah.
medical barbicide wipe and wiped down the
Yeah.
surface, but there's no hair, there's no junk. There's things that I think when you're a fresh set of eyes and you sit down, that the consumer sees that we
We
don't
get
see every
used
single
to.
day.
Yep.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
balls of hair, the
Yep.
splashed out color everywhere.
Yep.
And I think like I have a very cool statistic that says people would be, let's see, 92% of consumers agree that the cleanliness of a business is a major factor when deciding if they're going to be a repeat customer. So it's
Yeah.
not exactly like the decor of the salon or the branding or the
Mm.
boho chicness of it, but
Yeah.
just how much does this person that gives me service and wants to be treated like a professional? You know, we
Yeah.
always say, you know, doctors charge this rate. We should be, you know,
Yeah.
considered professionals in our field.
Yeah.
And then we come to work looking a bit slobby and having our situation look the same.
Yeah. And I think we have gotten so dialed in on things like branding and specialization and all these things that you're talking about that we have put so much time and attention and money and effort into making ourselves stand apart that it is wild that it even has to be said. But I do think it has to be said that something so base level like this does get lost over time. And so I think it's a good reminder for everyone to just like pause and look in the mirror and ask yourselves like, am I hitting the base level needs before I invest in that next, extension course or that whatever it
Mhm.
is? Because I do think we almost get so far ungrounded in where we're shooting for and what we're aiming for that this is just such a good reminder of like none of that matters if we're not doing the base level thing. So this has been a great wake up and reminder for me. And I hope that everybody listening feels that way as well. And I say all this, not like I have a dirty or a nasty space at all, but again, like you said, regulations exist for a reason. And the difference between clean and new seems silly when you're doing it, but it does matter. And I love hairstylists that are out here. What I call it is big magic ideas when this idea drops in and doing something different and beyond and creative and just really leaving a lasting like impact and legacy on the industry. So one thing I don't think you touched on, you talked a lot about the camera, but I also just noticed like the checklist
Yes.
inside of the app. And I think that that's brilliant, especially because inside of my mastermind, I have a lot of salon owners, one with commission and team salons, and that's a little bit easier to have some pretty strict regulations of opening duties, closing duties. But I know a lot of salon owners struggle with renters with opening duties, closing duties. There's that fine line of you're a renter versus what I can and can't tell you to do.
Mhm.
And I think this app specifically is so legal focused that I think almost any owner can give this to any service provider in their building, but I really think it's an interesting take for a booth rental salon or suite, like mine, it's three small suites in a shared salon space to say like, hey, moving forward, if you need to come in 30 minutes late and stay 30 or come 30 minutes early, stay 30 minutes late, like these are things that you have to do before you can come in and out, part of you renting a space here. So I just think those kind of like first thing is you do this, second thing is you do this, but at the end of the day, make sure you're disinfecting all the tools that you used for the day. I thought that was a great touch as well. So again, I'm going to start using it and I'm excited.
Thank you. Who wants to be a babysitter?
For real.
That is why I have not gotten into the full like staffing and owning a full-on
Mhm.
salon. I know that I would be
Yeah.
walked over instead of, holding the line and all. I think when you have a system, just like with anything when it comes to business, and you make it an even level playing field,
Mhm.
the checklist that you're referring to not only covers the stylists that are working in the salon, but even the salon manager and ownership of the paperwork and the licensing and the displaying steps that need to be in place for your salon to
Yeah.
open and to be operating every single day.
Totally. Yeah, brilliant. Well, I think you're killing it, Jacqueline. I'm glad that you reached out to me. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are going to be excited to hear and download the app and get their hands on it and start kind of peeking around. So I will leave the link to download in the show notes. Is there anything else you would like people to know or anything else I should know for the show notes?
It is such a great free to use app. And even if the whole AI subject and avoiding state fines was something that you don't feel is a pain point to you, I,
Yeah.
I know some stylists are like, why don't you get this? I've never gotten a fine. So just with keeping your license active, with showing up in a digital setting better with paperwork when you're inspected,
Yeah.
there's so many reasons why you should just take the free opportunity of using this app just for a little bit of safety, peace of mind and safety and protection for yourself.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Jacqueline, so much for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I will talk to you all next week. Bye.